Hello, welcome to Learning Studio. If you want to know about the early Greek philosophers, who were the first philosophers? What was the early Greek religion? What were the early Greek medicine? What is relativity of truth? Who is Plato? Who was Aristotle? And what is the importance of early Greek philosophy? We are starting a loop of videos on early Greek philosophers, which will answer all your queries. Make sure you don't miss any of them. Keep subscribing and supporting. This video covers the following topics: the world of pre-civilized humans, animism and anthropomorphism, magic, early Greek religion. Let's begin. The world of pre-civilized humans. Imagine living about 15,000 years ago. What would your life be like? It seems safe to say that in your lifetime you would experience most of the following: lightning, thunder, rainbows, the phases of the moon, death, birth, illness, dreams including nightmares, meteors, eclipses of the sun or moon, and perhaps one or more earthquakes, tornadoes, floods, droughts, or volcanic eruptions. Because these events would touch your life directly, it seems natural that you would want to account for them in some way. But how? Many of these events, for example, lightning, cannot be explained by average citizens even today. But we have faith that scientists can explain such events, and we are comforted and less fearful. However, as an early human, you would have no such scientific knowledge available. As thoughtful humans have always made empirical observations and then attempted to explain those observations. Although observation and explanation became key components of science, the explanations early humans offered were anything but scientific. Animism and anthropomorphism. Humans' earliest attempts to explain natural events involved projecting human attributes onto nature. For example, the sky or earth could become angry or could be tranquil, just as a human could. Looking at all of nature as though it were alive is called animism, and the projection of human attributes onto nature is called anthropomorphism. Both were involved in early attempts to make sense out of life. Early humans made no distinctions between animate and inanimate objects or between material and immaterial things. Another approach used to explain the world assumed that a ghost or spirit dwelt in everything, including humans, and that these spirits were as real as anything else. The events in both nature and human conduct were explained as the whims of the spirits that resided in everything. The word spiritus derived from the Latin word for breath. Breath is what gives things life, and when it leaves a thing, death results. This vital spirit can sometimes leave the body and return, as was assumed to be the case in dreaming. Also, because one can dream of or think of a person after his or her biological death, it was assumed that the person must still exist, for it was believed that something that could be thought of must exist. With this logic, anything the mind could conjure up was assumed to be real. Therefore, imagination and dreams provided an array of demons, spirits, monsters, and, later, gods, who lurked behind all natural events. Magic. Because an array of spirits with human qualities was believed to exist, attempting to communicate with the spirits and otherwise influence them seemed a natural impulse. If, for example, a spirit was providing too much or too little rain, humans made attempts to persuade the spirit to modify its influence. Similarly, a sick person was thought to be possessed by an evil spirit, which had to be coaxed to leave the body or be driven out. Elaborate methods, called magic, evolved that were designed to influence the spirits. People believed that appropriate words, objects, ceremonies, or human actions could influence the spirits. As rudimentary as these beliefs were, they at least gave early humans the feeling that they had some control over their fate. Humans have always needed to understand, predict, and control nature. Animism, anthropomorphism, magic, religion, philosophy, and science can all be seen as efforts to satisfy those needs. Waterfield elaborates this point. All systems of belief evolve to elucidate the order of things and to make sense of the world. In this sense, science is just as much a myth as anything else. It is a framework or model designed to explain and form reality for those people who accept it. That is, for those people who voluntarily become members of that society, and for only as long as there are enough people to accept it. If this is so, then so far from banishing gods, science has merely been the matrix for a new generation of scientific gods, children of the old gods. Early Greek religion. In the 5th and 6th centuries BC, the Greeks' explanations of things were still predominantly religious in nature. There were two major theologians to choose from: the Olympian and the Dionysiac-Orphic. Olympian religion consisted of a belief in the Olympian gods as described in the Homeric poems. The gods depicted typically showed little concern with the anxieties of ordinary humans. Instead, they tended to be irascible, immoral, and little concerned with the immortality of humans. Within Olympian religion, it was believed that the breath soul did survive death but did so without any of the memories or personality traits of the person whose body it had occupied. Such a belief concerning life after death encouraged living one's life in the fullest, most enjoyable way. Typically, the ideal life was seen as involving the pursuit of glory through the performance of noble deeds. In the thought of glory, most Greeks found a consolation for the shadowy doom which awaited them in the grave. The Olympian gods also personified orderliness and rationality and valued intelligence. In short, the Olympian gods tended to have the same characteristics and beliefs as the members of the Greek upper class. It hardly seems surprising that the Greek nobility favored the Olympian religion. The major alternative to Olympian religion was Dionysiac-Orphic religion. The wealthy Greek upper class was made possible, to a large extent, by a large class of peasants, laborers, and slaves whose lives were characterized by economic and political uncertainty. To these relatively poor, uneducated individuals, the Dionysiac-Orphic religion was most appealing. This religion was based on the legend of Dionysus, the god of wine and frenzy, and his disciple Orpheus. Central to Dionysiac-Orphic religion was the belief in the transmigration of the soul. One version of this belief was that during its divine existence, at which time it dwelled among the gods, the soul had committed a sin. As punishment, the soul was locked into a physical body, which acted as its prison. Until the soul was redeemed, it continued a circle of births, whereby it may find itself first inhabiting a plant, then an animal, then a human, then a plant again, and so on. What the soul longed for was its liberation from this transmigration and a return to its divine, pure, transcendent life among the gods. The rites that were practiced in hopes of freeing the soul from its prison included fasting, special diets, dramatic ceremonies, and various taboos. Later in history, the Orphic idea that the soul seeks to escape its contaminated, earthly existence and enter into a more heavenly state following death gained enormous popularity and indeed became an integral part of our Judeo-Christian heritage. In their efforts to make sense out of themselves and their world, the early Greeks had the Olympian and Dionysiac-Orphic religions from which to choose. Then, as now, which types of explanations individuals found congenial was as much a matter of temperament and circumstances as it was a matter of rational deliberation. As we will see next, many of the first Greek philosophers leaned toward the relative rationality of Olympian religion. The few highly influential philosophers, however, embraced the mysticism of Dionysiac-Orphic religion. Pythagoras and Plato are two prominent examples. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.